The film opens with a bloody scene. A young boy stands in a sea of flames, desperately screaming the names of his friends in agony. But it seems no one can answer him anymore. Everything around has been destroyed beyond recognition, just like his dream of becoming the strongest exorcist. The scene shifts to Kyoto, Hanaharu Dormitory. Benio bathes herself clean, dresses neatly, and prepares to travel to Tokyo. A servant stands beside her, remarking that being summoned to the meeting means she has been officially recognized as a full-fledged exorcist. The servant also mentions some recent rumors, saying that apparently someone even more outstanding than Benio has appeared there. Hearing this, Benio immediately becomes intrigued. Meanwhile in Tokyo, the young boy Rokuro once again fails in his romantic pursuits when another beautiful girl rejects him. Not only that, the girl humiliates him as if he were nothing, causing him to run away in despair. Just as he turns around, Rokuro accidentally crashes into Mayura's fruit stand. She is not surprised that Rokuro has been harshly rejected once again. It turns out that according to a fortune in the newspaper saying that when Rokuro meets the love of his life, his entire life will change. So Rokuro has been confessing to every girl he meets. While drowning in the despair of heartbreak, Rokuro spots a young boy being bullied in the distance. Without hesitation, he rushes over to stand up for the kid, only to trip on a rock mid-run and fall flat on his face. Though embarrassing, the bloody sight ultimately scares the bullies so much they nearly wet themselves and run away. The scene changes to Benio sitting on a train. As the train pulls into the station, she catches the scent of keg air lingering around her. Sure enough, the entire train car has been surrounded by monsters. Unfazed, she waits for everyone to leave before pulling out the talismans on her person. After reciting a series of summoning incantations, the gate to Megano immediately opens, transporting everyone to another world. Monsters pour in, and Benio puts on her mask, ready to fight them. Shifting to Seika Dormitory, a white-haired old man is deep in thought about something. Kyogo enters upon his summons, and together they observe the compass reacting intensely toward their area. Receiving the old man's orders, he immediately runs to find his two siblings to go fight. The group changes into white uniforms, puts them on, and gets into a car to head toward the location emitting the disturbance. Just then, Rokuro returns home only to be dragged along with everyone. But he immediately tries to escape. Faced with everyone's displeasure, Kyogo tells them the reason why Rokuro is still allowed to stay at Seika despite not performing exorcisms. 2 years ago, Rokuro was once a brilliant exorcist whom everyone looked up to and admired. However, the Hinatsuki tragedy occurred, and he was the only survivor. Upon hearing about the Hinatsuki tragedy, everyone turns pale with fear, not expecting the 14-year-old boy to have such a past. On the other side, Benio is fighting monsters inside the Megano gate. Against the Kegare's attacks, she quickly dispatches the creatures. Exhausted and hungry, she immediately closes the Megano gate and lets herself return to an unknown location. Rokuro sadly walks to a bridge, thinking about everything, about the days filled with hope, about his dream of becoming the greatest exorcist, and then remembering when the tragedy occurred. Just as he is lost in thought, Benio suddenly appears from the sky and falls straight down from the bridge. Rokuro tries to save her but ends up falling down as well. After stabilizing themselves, Benio wastes no words and approaches Rokuro to ask about a location written on her map that she needs to reach. Rokuro immediately leads her there. She seems to be someone who dislikes conversation, so the two continue walking in silence. But later, because of this outdated map, both of them get lost. Benio notices a pastry shop, and Rokuro, wanting to impress her, takes out his wallet and offers it to her. After eating their fill by emptying Rokuro's wallet, the two continue on. But at that moment, both Benio and Rokuro catch the scent of keg air. Without a word, Benio immediately opens the Megano gate, dragging Rokuro inside whether he wants to or not. Inside, a pair of ordinary siblings have been pulled in and are about to be attacked by monsters. Benio immediately puts on her mask once again to eliminate them. Rokuro watches the scene, trying to keep himself calm. Benio uses lightning speed to wipe out the monsters in just a few moments. Rokuro is amazed by her speed and slashing techniques, immediately recognizing her as a fairly powerful exorcist. At that moment, a massive Kegare monster suddenly appears. Rokuro immediately pulls the civilians to safety so Benio can deal with it. Before continuing her attack, Benio gives Rokuro a talisman to help the ordinary people escape from this place. Rokuro advises Benio to be careful, telling her not to fight because this Kegare is much stronger than the others, but Benio refuses to leave. Her dream is to eliminate all the Kegare to protect world peace. Her words make Rokuro see himself from years past, causing him to freeze. On her end, Benio launches continuous attacks, but they have no effect. Rokuro silently watches the situation deteriorate, then decides to use the talisman to rescue the two children first. Benio is struck so hard that her exorcism equipment and backup talismans fly off, blood flowing down her small face. Just when she does not know what to do, Rokuro steps forward, pulling out an exorcism talisman. Only now does Benio realize Rokuro is also an exorcist. Though the black talisman reminds him of the tragedy from years ago, it also brings back his childhood dream. Therefore, Rokuro waits no longer and immediately unleashes his exorcism power. In an instant, a blazing red iron arm appears on Rokuro's hand along with terrifying strength. Standing before the monster charging toward him, Rokuro does not hesitate to deliver a devastating punch. With just this one attack, the monster is reduced to smoke and clouds, unable to leave any last words. Benio is utterly stunned by Rokuro's exorcism power, but Rokuro considers this power to be like a curse. The two look at each other, as if seeing through each other's lives. After showing off his supreme exorcism skills, Rokuro asks Benio not to tell anyone about what happened today. He does not want to become an exorcist. Benio angrily brings them both back. When they return to the real world, night has already fallen. Benio claims that Kagero was not strong at all, and that she could have handled it herself. Though Rokuro finds this ridiculous, he does not care and turns to head home. Before parting, Benio introduces herself and asks for Rokuro's name, then the two immediately say goodbye. Once alone, Benio recalls what Rokuro said to her in Megano, about how she keeps saying she will eliminate all Kagero but should not boast if she cannot actually do it. This makes Benio extremely uncomfortable, her dislike for Rokuro growing even stronger. Rokuro does not like her either. On his way home, he suddenly remembers he left his bag by the river, and he has no money left to even buy a drink. Hatred upon hatred indeed, but the surprise is yet to come. After retrieving his bag and returning, Rokuro is shocked to find Benio being treated to tea and sweets by the old man and everyone else. Benio is equally surprised to see him there. The old man explains that Benio will be living here with them for the time being. Kyogo even jokes that from now on the two of them are rivals, since Rokuro and Benio are around the same age. Benio frowns at Rokuro with displeasure. At that moment, a spirit creature jumps out of nowhere and punches Rokuro in the face. It is Kanako, who calls itself Benio's loyal servant, warning him not to touch Benio. Getting punched, Rokuro angrily returns to his room. On her first day at the dormitory, Benio cannot sleep and goes to Rokuro's room to bother him at 5 in the morning. She expresses her desire to enter Megano with him once more. Rokuro's terrifying exorcism power has wounded Benio's pride. Kanako immediately runs out and tells Rokuro directly that Benio wants to see who is the better exorcist between them. Rokuro immediately refuses, but Benio even resorts to threats to demand they settle things. Kyogo is waking everyone up when he witnesses the light turn on in Rokuro's room. Rokuro pushes Benio and Kanako out of his room, repeating once more that his fighting yesterday was only due to the emergency situation. He hates exorcists the most. Kyogo is stunned by what he hears, but because there is an urgent situation with Kagero appearing, he cannot think further. Hearing there are monsters, Benio asks to go along. The group immediately enters Megano. Greeting them right as they enter is an enormous Kagero. Before anyone can form a plan, Benio has already charged in to attack on her own. She once again dons her exorcism attire, summoning 2 swords to rush forward. Everyone watching from afar is slack-jawed at the current situation. While fighting, Benio thinks that the monster Rokuro defeated yesterday was much stronger than this one. Her brother's words from that year resurface in her mind. Benio has resolved to become the strongest exorcist. Remembering what Rokuro said this morning makes Benio even more irritated. But by the time she finishes thinking, she has also finished defeating the monster. The group leaves Megano, and Kyogo approaches Benio to ask about yesterday's incident. Benio does not hide anything, even saying Rokuro is very strong. Only then does Kyogo tell her more about Rokuro. When he first met Rokuro 2 years ago, because Rokuro had experienced such a painful tragedy, by the time Kyogo joined Saika, Rokuro had already given up on becoming an exorcist. Kyogo feels that only when Rokuro fights is he truly himself, because his past was once so brilliant, and he too had the dream of becoming the strongest and eliminating all Kagero. Benio realizes with a start that she said the same words that day, and perhaps this touched that boy's memories. At the dormitory, Rokuro finally composes himself and leaves his room. Not paying attention to his surroundings, he walks into the bathroom just as Benio has finished bathing and come out. At this moment, Benio's servant also arrives to check on her, only to witness the chaotic scene. While running outside in panic, Rokuro crashes into a stranger once again. The strange blue-haired man wearing only underwear is none other than the leader of the Exorcist Association, Tsuchimikado Aruma. After calming down, Aruma explains why he has come here. It turns out that having received a new prophecy, he traveled all the way from Kyoto to Tokyo to inform everyone, but due to some scandalous romantic affairs, he had to arrive in this indecent state. After explaining, Aruma says he is here mainly because of Benio and Rokuro. He orders his subordinates to summon the Exorcist team leaders here to deliver the news. The group heads to an old church in the city. With just a few simple procedures, Grandfather Zenkichi opens a secret entrance, leading everyone to see an enormous Bagua formation. Below are many exorcists already present, standing in the center of a 5-element mutual restriction array. As soon as Benio enters, many other exorcists greet her with great respect. By now Arima has changed clothes and begins his speech. He mentions the new prophecy, saying that the long war between exorcists and Kegare is finally approaching its end. The prophecy states that the child of the gods has appeared. A great existence, isolated since ancient times, one whose curse power far exceeds even the exorcist Abino Seimei, the one who will purify all Kegare and bring an end to Magano, the strongest exorcist who is the child of the gods. All the exorcists are stunned upon hearing this. Arima then calls Benio forward. Everyone finds this fitting and admires her for the position. Arima waits until Benio is on the platform before continuing to announce another name, Rokuro. Rokuro's appearance shocks everyone, including himself. Arima explains that although both are 14 years old, they possess qualities superior to everyone present. The strongest in Eastern Japan, Rokuro, and the strongest in Western Japan, Benio. Arima wants them to fight each other to the death to determine who is the strongest. Rokuro immediately refuses, saying he has no obligation to do so. On the contrary, Benio has already drawn her weapons to attack. She charges forward with nothing but killing intent. Zenkichi understands that both Benio and Rokuro are children of the gods. Arima wants them to fight, and whoever wins will become the child of the gods. Meanwhile, Rokuro only defends without attacking. Benio knows Rokuro's abilities do not stop here. Arima sits to the side provoking him, urging Benio to force Rokuro to act, because an exorcist who does not fight has no value. He even mentions Rokuro's dead friends. This enraged Rokuro, who directly pulls out his black talisman wanting to charge at Arima for a fight to the death. Benio immediately runs over to stop him. She wants them to fight each other, and her opponent is Rokuro. Benio summons great power to fight Rokuro, but with just one move, he easily sends her flying. Benio constantly talking about becoming the strongest exorcist infuriates Rokuro immensely, and he sends her flying once more. Faced with this situation, Benio unleashes all her power, using rocket-like speed to attack Rokuro. Against these wind-like attacks, Rokuro punches the ground hard to shield himself. Just when Benio thinks she is gaining the upper hand, Rokuro immediately leaps up to attack. Just as it seems they are about to determine a winner, Arima asks them both to stop fighting. Their talisman equipment has also been neutralized. He praises the excellent match just now while also seriously bowing his head to apologize to Rokuro for insulting his closest friends earlier. Having them fight was merely a way to prove their strength to the other exorcists so they would be convinced. Arima announces that the two of them are the Sausei no Onmyoji, the twin star exorcists. All the exorcists are stunned upon hearing this. When the bewitching darkness covers the world, the twin stars will glide across that gloomy sky. When the twin stars gather is when the darkness will be destroyed. In other words, the existence that brings an end to Magano is the child of the gods, and the child of the gods is the child of the twin stars. What is called Sausei no Onmyoji is the title given to the couple with the most powerful magic, the ones who will give birth to the child of the gods, who will also be the strongest exorcist. To put it plainly, the prophecy requires Benio and Rokuro to get married and have children together. As soon as Arima finishes speaking, the scene of a happy family with one husband, one wife, and one child appears on screen. It turns out that was just a nightmare of Rokuro's. Walking into the dining room, Rokuro runs into Benio, both filled with displeasure toward each other. Some other exorcists at the dormitory see them and teasingly joke about the young couple, even suggesting they should share a room together. Benio angrily demands they be quiet, saying she does not want to marry someone who does not even care about being an exorcist. That would be the most humiliating thing in her life. Hearing this, everyone thinks Rokuro and Benio are actually a good match. They also praise the fight between Rokuro and Benio yesterday, inviting Rokuro to join them in eliminating Kegare. At that moment, Kyogo walks in and tells the two to prepare to go eliminate Kegare. He does not force Rokuro to participate in the fight, only advising him to look after Benio at her new school. The scene shifts to another place where Mayura is also preparing for her new school day. Whether by fate or misfortune, Benio is assigned to the same class as Rokuro as soon as she arrives at school. The other male students in class are delighted to have a new beauty join them. But Rokuro is speechless, believing this is Arima's doing. Elsewhere, Kyogo's group has entered the Magano Gate to eliminate Kegare monsters. It seems the temple location has many Kegare, and they are even becoming stronger. Although they really want to call Rokuro and Benio for help, since both still have to attend school, the three of them continue fighting alone. At school during physical education, Rokuro joins everyone in playing soccer. Though he plays terribly, everyone still laughs and has fun. Benio, the new student, quickly wins everyone's favor by easily completing the pole vault. After her is Mayura, but she cannot even clear the bar. Benio secretly feels Mayura is like an obstacle on her path of combat. Friends from afar ask why Rokuro and Mayura have been friends since childhood, but are not dating. Rokuro explains that Mayura is his grandfather's granddaughter, so they are just like cousins. At lunchtime, Mayura wants to eat bento with Benio to get acquainted, but she is not in the classroom. Benio goes to the rooftop to rest. Beside her, Kanako continuously complains about how the people here have no manners. At that moment, Kanako senses the power of Kegare, and Benio immediately stands up. On Kyogo's side, they are having difficulty with a massive Kegare, and someone wants to call Rokuro for help. Hearing this, Kyogo remembers the situation from 2 years ago. Rokuro covered in injuries, and also the image of him fighting yesterday. So he tells everyone to rely on their own abilities to fight without depending on anyone else. Hearing Kanako, Benio immediately grabs her school bag to leave, asking Mayura to help make an excuse to the teacher for her. Rokuro sees this and follows Benio, learning that a fairly strong Kegare has appeared and that Kyogo and friends are likely fighting there. Seeing that Rokuro does not intend to go with her, Benio quickly leaves with Kanako. Mayura sees Rokuro restlessly thinking during class and is very worried about him. Then she makes some kind of decision. On the other side, just as Kyogo and everyone are running low on energy, Benio arrives in time. Benio's image and determination remind Kyogo of Rokuro when he was young. After school, Rokuro is dragged somewhere by Mayura as soon as he returns. The two go to Sakura Amusement Park for fun. Mayura brings up embarrassing childhood stories about Rokuro, wanting to cheer him up again. The two go on thrilling rides even though Rokuro is scared out of his wits. Meanwhile, Benio is still fighting Kegare, her strength making Kyogo's group feel great admiration. But they do not just stand around letting Benio handle everything. Kyogo and the others take on the task of dealing with a smaller Kegare so the stronger Benio can eliminate the large monsters. After finishing all the rides in the park, Rokuro takes Mayura home early. On the other side, the Kegare suddenly touches something, accidentally opening a gate between the two worlds, pulling a high-speed train car inside. Inside the Magano gate, Benio immediately rushes to block the monster's path. She wants to destroy it with one blow, and indeed manages to do so. Kyogo watches Benio, feeling that she might be able to help Rokuro return to the path of exorcism. Outside in the real world, the train tracks have been cut in two, and Rokuro is trying to climb up to save two children. Their image reminds Rokuro of himself and his friends from the past, making him try even harder to save them. Just as the train falls, the two children are safely pulled out by Rokuro. On the way back, Rokuro thanks Mayura for comforting him. That evening, when reuniting with everyone, they all wholeheartedly praise Benio for her actions. Benio does not pay attention, instead asking Rokuro why his clothes are so dirty, but he does not answer. Elsewhere, Arima holds a meeting with the 12 exorcist leaders. A person named Ikuruga Shimon stands up expressing doubt about the divine selection of Rokuro, but Arima only reminds him to remember well that this is a definite prophecy. Shimon seems somewhat unconvinced by Rokuro being chosen. That evening, while Benio is silently communing with her deceased older sister in her heart, Kyogo appears and expresses his desire to talk with her. He conveys his wish for her to help bring Rokuro back to his path as an exorcist. The reason Kyogo always shows such concern for Rokuro is because both of them are orphans with no one to rely on, so this exorcist society is like a family to them. He also treats Rokuro like his younger brother, and helps him wholeheartedly. In another room, Rokuro overhears everything they say and cannot help but tremble and blush with embarrassment. A new day begins. Kyogo is checking the exorcism equipment inventory when he notices a talisman that looks older than the rest. It reminds him of something, making him smile nostalgically. Since grandfather Zenkichi is away, Kyogo assigns tasks to everyone in his place. Today they will deliver reports to the IM branch and then do exorcism work as usual. He asks Benio and Rokuro about their plans for this Sunday. Benio declines to go with them, wanting to stay at the dormitory to maintain her sword. Rokuro immediately refuses as usual. Kyogo also reminds Rokuro about his studies, giving a stream of advice like a worried older brother caring for his younger sibling. But these words instead make the boy angry. He immediately slams the table and runs out of the room without saying much. In the car on their way to the mission, Kyogo is not angry at Rokuro, but feels sympathetic and worried about the boy. Rokuro walks around aimlessly on the street in frustration. Kyogo's concern from last night until this morning only makes him more uncomfortable. At that moment at the IM branch, Kyogo delivers the team's report to a person named Fushihara. This person is also very curious about the two with the title Sausei no Onmyaji living at Seika. Kyogo explains that since both are still in school, he does not want them to participate in exorcism work or bear too much responsibility at the branch. On the way back, prompted by Atsushi's curiosity, Kyogo explains that Fushihara is an acquaintance of his. Though he looks rather dull, this person is also the ace of the IM branch with strength far greater than theirs. He is currently working as a babysitter and usually eliminates Kegare for the children. Meanwhile, Rokuro is still sitting under a bridge contemplating life, while Kyogo's group goes to an abandoned house to eliminate Kegare. The owners of this house are a newly married couple who moved here to live after their parents passed away. This family lived together with 5 students and 2 children, but all 11 of them suddenly disappeared without a trace. Kyogo and everyone immediately enter to inspect the house. Meanwhile, while wandering around, Rokuro is called over by an elderly woman selling sundries who seems to remember him very well. She gives him a familiar pastry that makes him reminisce about his childhood as he eats. The old woman also asks about Ryogo, saying they are like brothers who fall out and then make up again. Mentioning Mayura, she also asks about the progress between the two of them. After eating and chatting, Rokuro feels relieved and quickly says goodbye before leaving. Back at the abandoned house, Kyogo and everyone find no signs of evil. They enter the last room, which reeks of evil, showing that the Kegare can only be hiding here. But at that moment, a heavy feeling appears, preventing all 3 from moving. They have been ambushed by the appearing monsters. Kyogo immediately opens the Magano gate, and facing them is an enormously massive monster. It sends Shinosuke and Atsushi flying far away, and when they open their eyes, both Kyogo and the monster have disappeared. Rokuro wanders around until evening before returning home. Just as he enters, Shinosuke and Atsushi struggle back, supporting each other. They laboriously recount what happened at the abandoned house. Upon learning that Kyogo has disappeared, Rokuro immediately runs to find Benio. The young man bows his head begging her to help save Kyogo, though he is very afraid of fighting. Right now Kyogo is far more important. Benio approaches and tells him that when asking an exorcist to fight, there is no need to bow like that, so lift your head. Elsewhere inside the Magano gate, Kyogo is struggling to find a place to escape. Though having a hard time, he has not been completely defeated yet. He vaguely feels the monsters want to play hide and seek with him, toying with their prey before devouring it completely. Currently Kyogo has run out of gate opening talismans and cannot escape the current situation. Just when he thinks he is safe for a few minutes, the monster suddenly appears again, continuously tormenting Kyogo as if playing with him. Though still alive, being surrounded by dozens of Kegare like this makes it hard to survive much longer. Just as he is about to make one final attack, Kyogo realizes his exorcism power has no effect here. In this situation, he can only use his powerless sword to slash, also preparing himself to close his eyes and go to heaven from here. But at that moment, Rokuro arrives just in time, sending the monster flying with one blow. Seeing Kyogo's arms and legs injured, Rokuro is heartbroken. But the person before him just smiles and takes out an old guardian spirit talisman from his pocket. Rokuro is startled remembering that day when he was young. After receiving the pastry bought by Kyogo, Rokuro gave him that guardian spirit talisman, saying that when he becomes stronger, he will definitely make Kyogo his guardian spirit. This talisman has also been the motivation for Kyogo to hold on until now. Back to the present, the monsters have all appeared here waiting to finish off Kyogo. Benio also arrives and uses her attacks to eliminate all of them. Despite this, the Kegare still swarm in like sand in the desert. Rokuro does not run away. He immediately unleashes all his strength to deal with them, also to protect this older brother figure. Rokuro decides to charge at the strongest one to execute it with just one blow. Benio also finishes eliminating the surrounding monsters. At this moment, Rokuro blushingly goes to Kyogo to apologize for what happened this morning. Watching the 2 brothers leave, Benio seems to be thinking about something, but she just silently walks along. Leaving the abandoned house, Shinosuke and Atsushi are overjoyed to see Kyogo and everyone safe and run over to them. By the time Benio steps out, only Rokuro is waiting for her outside the gate. Rokuro blushingly bows his head to thank Benio for saving him. Benio shyly says it was nothing. She also praises Rokuro for being amazing when fighting, and the two seem to no longer be as angry at each other as before. That evening in Kyoto, Arima observes the current situation. The appearance of Kegare has been suppressed by exorcists in various regions and branches. Their numbers are increasing significantly, but Narukami has the most, and their power is also extremely terrifying. Arima orders someone to investigate this matter, and that person is Shimon. Shimon immediately accepts the order. Before leaving, Arima reminds the young man that the Sausei no Onmyaji are also there, but Shimon does not care. After school, Rokuro visits Kyogo, who is recovering from his injuries at the hospital. Fortunately, Benio helped treat him in time with talismans that day, so he is currently doing fine. Grandfather Zenkichi also allows Kyogo to rest for a few days before returning. Rokuro brings gifts of food from the sundry store from before. Seeing Rokuro mention exorcism matters, Kyogo comforts him not to think too much. If he does not want to fight, he can just relax and stay at the dormitory since they are family after all. Rokuro still lacks confidence in himself, so he just remains silent and quickly returns to Seika dormitory. Upon entering the room, he sees Benio and everyone enthusiastically making talismans together. Seeing Rokuro arrive, Benio asks if he wants to join them in writing. But the talismans Rokuro draws are too ugly and incorrect, making everyone burst into laughter. At that moment, Grandfather Zenkichi appears, informing them that about a dozen Kegare have appeared in the southeast direction. Benio immediately stands up to lead everyone into battle, replacing Kyogo, who is on leave. In the car, Benio has also changed into the same uniform as everyone else. Rokuro goes with them despite not wearing the uniform, but he still does not admit he wants to join the group. Hearing the girl and boy arguing in the back, Atsushi teases that they are becoming more and more like a young married couple, making both of them even noisier. At this moment, Shinosuke gives Rokuro exorcism equipment that Kyogo prepared for him in case the boy still wants to enter the Magano Gate. Inside is a complete set of talismans personally prepared by Kyogo himself, which deeply moves Rokuro. The location they are heading to is an elementary school. There, a teacher is panicking because the students in the schoolyard have suddenly disappeared, an entire soccer team's worth. With so many people involved and no time to wait, Benio immediately uses a talisman to open the Magano Gate and bring everyone inside. Inside the Magano Gate, the children are frantically running around in fear from the attacking monsters. Rokuro also arrives just in time to save a child about to fall into a monster's mouth. Among the children here is also the boy who got into trouble at the amusement park. Benio also rushes over to help him eliminate the monsters. It seems this area has more Kegare appearing than usual. Rokuro and Benio quickly continue fighting the second wave of Kegare. Shinosuke and Atsushi take on the task of returning the children to the real world. But just as Shinosuke is about to use the talisman to open the gate, he is attacked by a monster, and then the children are also surrounded. This scene reminds Rokuro of his past from 2 years ago, making him tremble uncontrollably. But Shinosuke and Atsushi are not that weak. The two quickly rescue the children and get them out of there. Due to a moment of carelessness, Rokuro is grabbed by a Kegare. The distance is too close for him to handle the situation in time. Just when it seems he is about to be devoured, someone appears out of nowhere and eliminates the monster. This person is Shimon. Facing a new wave of monsters, he calmly summons his incredibly powerful exorcism equipment. Then, in the stunned gazes of everyone around, uses a firestorm to liberate all the Kegare. After the battle, Shimon approaches them. Rokuro does not know who the person before him is, but Benio does. This person is one of the 12 Guardians. One of Erima's 12 Guardians is a top-tier exorcist in terms of martial arts, exorcism energy, knowledge, and combat experience. And the one before them is Guardian Ikuruga Shimon, bearing the title Suzaku, the Vermilion Bird. Shinosuke and Atsushi calmly approach to thank Shimon for his help. After learning that the arrogant boy before him is Rokuro, Shimon immediately gives him a painful punch. He interrogates why Rokuro was so sluggish when the Kegare was right in front of him earlier, asking how he dares to fight when making such a big mistake. Shimon then turns to express pity for Benio having to pair with someone as useless as Rokuro. But the situation is not over yet. A gorilla-type Kegare charges at them from somewhere. With just one blow, it easily knocks down Shinosuke and Atsushi, making Rokuro furious. Shimon is about to step forward to finish it off when Rokuro rushes ahead of him. Benio blocks Shimon's path, saying that although Rokuro has many flaws, this person is not weak at all. Up ahead, Rokuro summons his exorcism weapon, and with just one punch beautifully finishes off the gorilla Kegare. From afar, a mysterious person has witnessed everything and smiles with interest. At this moment, Shimon receives a call from Erima. Erima reminds him of the urgent situation, the order from the Exorcist Association leader, requiring him to focus on investigating the situation and immediately come for an urgent meeting. Shimon can only obey and quickly opens a gate to leave. Rokuro wants to chase after Shimon, but having exhausted his strength after using many talismans, he can only give up. The boy who was saved then comes with his other classmates to thank them for saving him. The teacher is also very moved and grateful to these exorcists. Seeing this, Benio also smiles along with everyone. Returning to Narukami, the urgent situation Erima mentioned is actually that he has found the super hot new swimsuit model magazine, leaving Shimon speechless. Erima then asks about Rokuro's situation, but Shimon shows no interest, wanting to continue returning to investigate according to his assigned mission. At this point, Erima tells Shimon he does not need to continue anymore. His growth has been enough to stimulate the opponent. In fact, Erima sending Shimon there was also part of his plan. He wanted Benio and Rokuro to meet a guardian of their age to stimulate the competitive desire in both of them. That afternoon at the dormitory, everyone eats while discussing what happened this morning. Learning that Shimon became a guardian at their current age and has such terrifying power makes Rokuro both frustrated and admiring. Benio does not understand what he wants to do and makes some sarcastic remarks, and the two get into another argument that lasts all day without end. Another new day passes at Narcomi Academy. Benio sits silently studying in class when some female classmates approach to get acquainted. Benio does not pay much attention, and with Kanako reporting news about Kagero, she immediately stands up and leaves the classroom to everyone's confusion. Rokuro silently follows Benio. Mayura also goes with him to follow Benio, feeling very suspicious about that girl's whereabouts. Because Mayura is beside him, Rokuro does not dare follow any further. Seeing his male classmates start making random speculations about Benio's identity, Rokuro just silently listens. In the Magano Gate this time, only Shinosuke and Atsushi are fighting and falling into an encirclement when Benio quickly arrives in time to support them. Another day passes. Benio just arrives at school and receives a welcoming approach from Mayura, but she does not really accept it. Physical education class and lunchtime are the same. Mayura always tries to start a conversation with this new friend, but Benio is not very enthusiastic about the friendliness from the busty Mayura. During break, after once again being approached by Mayura, Benio cannot stand it anymore and directly asks why this person keeps following her. Mayura just says she is very worried and afraid Benio is associating with bad elements, so she wants to help her. Benio thinks her exorcism work has been exposed, but actually Mayura is just talking about the underworld. Benio and Mayura are talking past each other. One thinks the other is talking about underworld rules, while the other thinks she has already understood that Benio is an exorcist and keeps talking about eliminating evil. After school, Kanako talks to Benio about what just happened. The reason Benio always closes herself off from making friends is because the work of an exorcist should not dream of such a beautiful life. Rokuro is also on the way back with Benio to check on her, but she does not care and quickly leaves him behind, making Rokuro very frustrated. That evening, everyone has bought lots of food to celebrate Kyogo's discharge from the hospital. Just recovered, Kyogo immediately wants to start work tomorrow. After all, the Kagero have been getting stronger lately, and he cannot let everyone fight for him forever. Rokuro looks at the wound on Kyogo's hand, and after thinking for a while, he finally speaks up saying he will take on missions to help him. Everyone is utterly stunned. Kyogo is overjoyed that the boy has gradually returned to the path of an exorcist. Shinosuke, Atsushi, and grandfather Zenkichi also happily come over to celebrate with them. Benio sits in one place watching this scene and suddenly feels a sense of crisis rising. Rokuro being serious about the path of exorcism reminds her that she must be more serious about her own path and cannot be distracted any longer. Elsewhere, Mayura is doing homework while thinking about Benio's rejection this morning. Though somewhat sad, she quickly encourages herself to continue tomorrow. Early morning at Seika Dormitory, though it is Sunday, Benio has woken up early with everyone else to prepare for the exorcism mission. Rokuro wakes up late but quickly puts on his uniform to join his brothers. A moment later, Benio does not participate in the fight, but instead walks leisurely on the road to train her physical fitness. The reason is that Kyogo has expressed his intention to let Rokuro go alone with them this time so he can observe Rokuro more closely. Benio is burning with the will to train when Mayura appears from somewhere and runs over to continue being friendly. This time her enthusiasm somewhat moves Benio, making her blush with fluttering feelings. Inside the Magano Gate, Rokuro quickly uses combat talismans to help everyone deal with the monsters. His performance makes everyone, especially Kyogo, very satisfied. But as one group of monsters appears, another dozen new ones arrive, so everyone quickly runs to continue fighting. Meanwhile, outside, Mayura has led Benio to a shop selling delicious ohagi and orders many ohagi for Benio. Seeing Benio happily eating makes Mayura very glad. She expresses that she will find every way to not let bad people take Benio away. Benio just says she did not go today because someone else went in her place. That person is very useless, but when serious, he is extremely strong and brave. He is the person who has given her motivation and courage to continue. Benio expresses that she will not lose to this person. Mayura smiles saying she wants to know more because they are friends now after all. At that moment, the pastry shop suddenly shakes, and Kanako also cries out warning of an evil smell. Inside the Magano Gate, a larger monster rushes toward them. Kyogo charges forward. Shinosuke and Atsushi also use talismans, but all three cannot control the monster. Outside, the shaking just now is due to a directional deviation of Magano creating a crack. Now the shop has many monsters and also victims. Benio does not hesitate to take out her talisman to enter the Magano Gate, leaving a stunned Mayura standing there. On this side, Kyogo and everyone have collapsed. Rokuro then takes out his exorcism equipment to rush and deal with the monster. In another corner, Benio has also eliminated the Kagero to rescue the victims. She does not stay long but quickly opens a gate to return them to the real world. Kanako mentions Mayura, thinking she must have been scared and gone home. But actually Mayura is still waiting outside. When she sees Benio return, she immediately rushes over to embrace Benio, crying and showing her worry. This strange feeling makes Benio freeze. She comforts the person before her and also decides to extend her arms to hold Mayura's outstretched hand. Returning home in the late afternoon, Mayura explains that her family are also exorcists and grandfather Zenkichi is her grandfather. Back at the dormitory, everyone has returned after an exhausting day. Rokuro is even praised by Kyogo, Shinosuke, and Atsushi for being very active and hardworking. At that moment, Benio and Mayura are already standing at the front gate. Mayura is very angry and immediately rushes over to push Rokuro down while questioning him. She did not expect Benio to be living with Rokuro, living together and even eating together. The other three watch this scene and whisper to each other that this is the sign of a dramatic love triangle. Benio also wonders if they can still be friends. Elsewhere, grandfather Zenkichi enters the Megano Gate to examine what remains at the scene, where only misty smoke and dust are left. Shimon slowly returns home. In the dimly lit room, two women remind Shimon that there is no need to go find Arima because he has already come to Narukami. It seems he wants to take that Sausei couple somewhere to prepare for their trial. Sure enough, the next day Arima has equipped himself with leisure gear to visit Seika dormitory. He immediately orders both Benio and Rokuro to come with him to a place that will demonstrate the true value of exorcists like them. This is the inescapable destiny of both of them. Thus, Benio and Rokuro get in the car and leave with Arima. Within minutes, they are brought to a villa on a hill. This is a dream house for families. Besides the villa's amenities, Arima introduces the most outstanding feature of this house: the pearl bedroom designed specifically for couples, a place specially designed to serve the battle of love that is both satisfying and mysterious yet wild. Arima continues, saying from now on this villa will belong to the two of them, and they must sleep on this bed to create the destined child as soon as possible. Benio and Rokuro immediately object to this request. Moreover, they have no desire to get married or have children at all. At this moment, Zenkichi and Mrs. Kinu walk in. He continuously advises them to accept this because their luggage is already being transferred here. Watching pile after pile of their belongings being carried into the room, Rokuro is stunned speechless. Arima says his mission is to ensure the prophecy comes true, so this phase can be considered a trial period. Rokuro wants Benio to object with him, but Kanako knows her master greatly respects Arima and will definitely not disobey him. Seeing Kanako appear, Arima takes it along with grandfathers Zenkichi and Kinu to leave the villa, leaving space for the young couple to have intimate moments together. With no other choice, Rokuro accepts going into his own room in this villa. When alone, Rokuro fully expresses his embarrassment. After all, living with a girl, alone in this villa, how can he handle it? Rokuro does not know that everything is being observed by Arima through a camera outside. He switches the view to Benio and sees her just silently looking at her room for a long while to assess the situation. At that moment, Arima smiles with interest and presses some kind of switch. Immediately, both Benio's and Rokuro's rooms change as the sliding doors disappear. The building continuously shakes, and the wall separating the two rooms is lowered. After a series of operations, this place no longer looks like a house, but has become a special military training facility. Both quickly press their faces to the floor to stabilize the situation. On the large screen, Arima's face appears, making Rokuro even angrier as he curses at him. Arima directs the first challenge mission for both of them. In this room, there is a ventilation hole on the ceiling, and they must go to the bottom of it to find a way to return the bedroom to normal. Furthermore, he announces that this place has a strict protective barrier to prevent them from using their abilities, so using exorcism equipment is impossible. Turning off the screen, Arima ignores Kanako's criticism, saying this is the first trial for Sausei to give birth to the child of the gods. Back at the villa, Benio and Rokuro decide to follow Arima's instructions to quickly end everything. On the slope, there are already footholds like a bed, chair, and table. In the middle of the room, there is also a screwdriver to open the ventilation duct to get inside. Now they just need to work together. Rokuro goes up first to reach the bed, but quickly falls down, so Benio has to go first. But because she is wearing a skirt, everything under the skirt is seen by Rokuro. It turns out Benio is not wearing anything underneath today. Both blush looking at each other. Benio in her embarrassment wants to kill Rokuro, but due to the current situation, they can only quickly continue. After that is a classic falling into each other's arms scene from romance novels, a sight that excites Arima immensely. The next location is the table. Benio wants to use the lever method so both can quickly complete the mission. Rokuro quickly heads toward the table and prepares his position to catch Benio. Benio blushingly reminds Rokuro not to peek, then quickly jumps up. But because she does not look, a mistake occurs and both return to the starting point. Back at Seika dormitory, Mayura comes to visit Rokuro and is utterly shocked and heartbroken to hear that Rokuro has moved to live with Benio. She angrily questions grandfather Zenkichi about why he let them live together and even share the same bed. But at this moment, Kyogo comes in to inform everyone that there is a new location emitting signals, and this time the monster seems very strong. Back at the villa, Rokuro continues using the lever motion, and this time he can lift Benio up. Now they are only a few meters from the ventilation opening, but the screwdriver hanging up there is very hard to reach. In this situation, they can only think of climbing on each other to get the screwdriver. Though embarrassed, Rokuro still lets Benio sit on his shoulders. Thanks to this, she easily gets the screwdriver to open the ventilation duct. Outside, Arima happily enjoys this romantic scene. Kanako is so angry she grits her teeth and directly smashes the camera projector to protect her master's image. On this side, the ventilation grate has been opened. Rokuro lets Benio climb onto his head to crawl into the duct. Benio thanks him, and both quickly proceed inside. At that moment, Atsushi calls wanting to ask Benio and Rokuro to come support everyone at the Magano gate. Both immediately want to speed up completing the challenge to quickly go rescue everyone. After going on and on and on, they find a monitoring device and a keyboard. The machine displays that they must answer the given question correctly, with only one chance to answer. The question displays that it is bigger than a whale but smaller than a Medaka fish, and the name of this aquatic creature is 3 hiragana characters. Rokuro does not understand and is cursing loudly. Benio tells him to calmly think because if he looks carefully there will be an answer. Those were the words her late brother once said. After a moment, Benio figures out it is a type of whale, but there are many different types of whales. Rokuro tries to think of a name, and though it seems ridiculous, the answer turns out to be correct. Immediately, they are returned to the safe room. Without many words, Benio immediately takes out a talisman to open the Magano gate. On the other side, Kyogo and everyone are struggling to fight the monster. Fortunately, Rokuro and Benio arrive in time to deal with this Mantis Kegare. Seeing Benio struggling, Rokuro immediately runs over to coordinate with her to handle it. After the battle ends, Benio picks up spider webs for Rokuro. Rokuro just notices that the hair clip on her head has fallen off at some point. That is a gift her brother Benio once left for her, so she cannot abandon it. Remembering she dropped it while fighting the monster, she wants to dig through all the dirt to find it. Rokuro does not hesitate to step forward and pull Benio away. Both return to the villa. It turns out Benio dropped it when they entered the ventilation duct. Back in the living room, Benio is moved and thanks Rokuro for helping her find her item. Rokuro explains he just had a feeling it fell out when they were doing the challenge. He also says that since entering the Magano gate, he felt something was different about Benio compared to usual, and it turns out it was because of the hair clip. So by reasoning, it must be somewhere in this villa. After a moment of awkwardness, Benio decides to take a bath in the hot water bathroom. That evening, they enjoy dinner together. Benio wants to go to her room to practice a bit before sleeping, while Rokuro goes straight to sleep. Rokuro then becomes curious about Benio's brother. Hearing this, Benio sits down to share with him. It turns out Benio has a twin brother, and they used to love each other very much. In her recollection, her brother was the one who encouraged her to continue forward and become truly strong. But after their parents died, Benio gradually grew distant from her brother, and then he died while fighting Kegare. Rokuro also tells about himself. He is someone without parents, abandoned and picked up by the dormitory. Benio does not look down on Rokuro and even praises his strength. Just when they have been peaceful for a moment, they start arguing again. It seems that is the normal way of life for both of them. At this moment at a construction site, formerly the Hinatsuki dormitory that has now become a historic site. At the foot of a stone, someone has placed a bouquet of flowers and a plate of pastries. Back at Benio's house in Kyoto, their family photo is still there as if it never left. The next day, Mayura is at Benio and Rokuro's villa, and has heard the whole story about Sause. Rokuro explains they did not volunteer to do this. Living together is also a requirement from the Exorcist Association leader Arima. At this moment, hearing this, Mayura's expression suddenly changes. She asks Rokuro if he truly wants to return to being an exorcist and fight Kegare. Knowing Rokuro has stood up to fight, Mayura is heartbroken. After all the pain and loss he had to endure, he had said he would never fight again. Mayura does not want Rokuro to have to go through such terrible things again. He is just a high school student after all. Facing Mayura's worry, Benio steps forward to speak for Rokuro. She talks about how Rokuro also had to deliberate greatly before returning to fight, but his actions have saved many lives. When Rokuro is truly serious, he is very strong and easily inspires Benio. Mayura now understands who Benio was referring to at the pastry shop. Benio thinks Rokuro deserves praise for overcoming his past and standing up once again. Mayura disagrees, feeling that even so, if Rokuro loses his life in Magano, none of that would matter anymore. On the contrary, Benio calmly repeats once more that she and everyone have never intended to force Rokuro. It is just that being an exorcist is where Rokuro belongs and what he needs. Mayura is solely concerned about Rokuro's safety and does not want him to take risks. Rokuro sees the two arguing about him and wants to intervene, but cannot because their strength is much greater than his. Benio once again affirms that if Rokuro does not become an exorcist, he will have nothing left, like Ohagi without red beans and sticky rice. Mayura tries to find other good qualities in Rokuro, but they all make Rokuro feel like a complete failure listening to them. After arguing for a while, they decide to let Rokuro decide his own path forward. Rokuro is silent for a moment, then slowly tells them his feelings. He always thought he only participated in fighting because he was forced, but Rokuro still wants to use the power he has to protect everyone, even if it means fighting and facing danger. Seeing Rokuro's determination, Mayura no longer stops him, but she also runs out of the villa heartbroken. On her way back, Mayura sadly walks while scolding Rokuro for not considering her feelings at all. She remembers when they were young, how worried she was when she found Rokuro under a bridge. He had just burned all his talismans and was suffering and torn up over the deaths of those friends. The tears that fell were also when the dream of becoming the strongest exorcist faded into the past. On her way home, Mayura does not notice that she is being followed by someone. Back at the villa, Benio and Rokuro each sit in their own corner of the sofa with their own thoughts. Kanako comes in to bring them pastries and accidentally picks up Mayura's protective talisman that she dropped here earlier. Benio immediately wants both of them to return it to Mayura as soon as possible, because this is a talisman made so Kegare cannot sense her powerful magical energy. After all, the reason Kegare attack people is to absorb their large amount of power and become stronger. If Mayura possesses this talisman, she must have a certain amount of magical power. Sure enough, Kanako also reports the appearance of Kegare at this moment. Rokuro cannot wait any longer and immediately leaves the villa. Mayura has indeed sensed something strange. She was pulled into Megano by the monster without realizing when. When she opens her eyes, they are already inside the gate, and the monster has transformed from human form into an enormously massive Kegare. It uses the tentacles on its body to grab Mayura, wanting to quickly devour her to increase its power. At that dangerous moment, Rokuro arrives just in time and punches the Kegare in the face, successfully rescuing Mayura. Before fainting, Mayura thinks that if Rokuro keeps being this cool, how can she oppose him anymore? Benio then arrives wanting to personally handle this monster. Both quickly draw out their exorcism equipment. On the monster's body where they are not paying attention, the mysterious person from before appears again. Outside in the real world, grandfathers Zenkichi and Mrs. Kinu have just returned to the dormitory and see Atsushi lying knocked out. And in the room, the man named Seijin is sitting there, being attentively massaged by Shinosuke. Seijin's appearance utterly shocks both of them. Seijin says he came here to re-educate some idle brat who has been using his power recklessly, and also because of the situation with the fallen Kegare. Without many words to them, Seijin quickly opens the Megano gate. He only came to clean up the aftermath of his stupid student. Back inside the Megano gate, Kanako takes on the task of protecting the unconscious Mayura, so the other two have a chance to eliminate the monster. This Kegare is very strong. Both its speed and strength are outstandingly superior. Benio and Rokuro combined still cannot find a breakthrough point. But at that moment, a massive surge of power suddenly appears and easily tears the Kegare into 100 pieces. Rokuro sees this somewhat familiar attack and starts trembling slightly. Seijin uses his technique to easily eliminate the threat for them under Rokuro's fearful gaze. In the real world, Zenkichi tells the young ones that the person just now is named Amawaka Seijin, an exorcist who was once stationed in this town for a while. He is Seijin's son-in-law and also Mayura's father. This is a very strong person, also one of the 12 guardians. Shinosuke and Atsushi then recount about Guardian Shimon to Kyogo, who was at the hospital. Kyogo speaks for grandfather Zenkichi to tell them that Seijin is also the person who taught him and Rokuro how to fight as exorcists. This person is no different from their teacher. In the Megano world, Rokuro is being beaten by Seijin for being insolent. He looks at Rokuro's exorcism arm, saying Rokuro has been using it quite recklessly lately, and asks if he is not going to say he wants to return to being an exorcist. Seeing Rokuro not refute, Seijin does not hesitate to throw him to the ground. He wants Rokuro to use that arm to prove what he can do and how much he has awakened. Seijin challenges him, saying if Rokuro wins, he will acknowledge him. Benio and Kanako can only stand aside and watch at this moment. Outside, Mrs. Kinu talks about the fallen Kegare they mentioned this afternoon. Since ancient times, the term Narukami also means both body and spirit becoming demons from hating others too much. There have been people with great magical power who for unknown reasons all turned into Kegare. Those people are called fallen Kegare. Their existence only appeared 2 years ago, and it originated from the Hinatsuki tragedy. Mrs. Kinu hearing this becomes even more suspicious about Rokuro's past story. After hearing that Rokuro is the only survivor of the tragedy, her eyes immediately widen in horror. At this moment inside the Megano Gate, Seijin uses the very spell command that Rokuro often uses, but with power many times more terrifying, and attacks toward him. Rokuro is not easily defeated and quickly uses a counterattack technique, though it is still easily blocked by Seijin with a flick of his finger. He has taken the black talisman from Rokuro's hand without him noticing, and seems to intend to take it for good. Seijin crushes Rokuro under his foot, reminding him that arm does not exist to save people, but is the rejection of the outstretched arms calling for help from humans. Seijin reminds him of the things Rokuro did at Hinatsuki. Hearing this, Benio is stunned and approaches to ask for clarification. Seijin answers the question for Rokuro. Rokuro's left arm is full of that red blood. Outside, Mrs. Kinu also explains why she was shocked just now. Benio's family was killed by Kegare. Her brother was adopted by the Ichika family on their side, which is also the person who once lived at Hinatsuki dormitory. On the other side, Seijin reveals everything. The Hinatsuki tragedy as told outside was a place where Kegare appeared and killed all the trainee exorcists. But the truth is not like that. That day 2 years ago, when the tragedy occurred, no Kegare appeared from Megano at all. The students who died then were killed by the only child who survived, Enmato Rokuro. Rokuro just remains silent without responding to anything. Seijin also reveals the truth for Benio, that she is actually the younger sister of Ichika Yuyuto. Hearing this name, Rokuro is stunned. Benio wants Rokuro to tell her the truth clearly. Rokuro does not make excuses for himself. He used this very arm to kill everyone at Hinatsuki. In her fury, Benio immediately draws her exorcism equipment, wanting Rokuro to pay for his crimes right here. But Seijin calmly asks Benio to lower her sword because there is more to this story. At that moment, the mysterious person finally reveals himself. This person turns out to be Yuyuto, Benio's older brother, who is also Seijin's second disciple. He came here today not to deal with Rokuro, but for the person before him, this rebellious disciple. Yuyuto laughs happily amid everyone's horror. He says he only came today to talk with Rokuro. Seeing that Yuyuto is still alive, Rokuro is filled with rage and immediately wants to charge forward to kill him. But Yuyuto easily stops him. Seijin witnesses Yuyuto's handling and is secretly amazed. Using magic without talismans, how is that possible? Rokuro is bound tight and can only stand watching Yuyuto. Rokuro hatefully keeps talking about what Yuyuto did to the others 2 years ago and how he dares to stand here and talk. Yuyuto calmly smiles and explains that he only gave them power. It was Rokuro who killed everyone. The past is revealed. On that day, Yuyuto had the other classmates set up a strange sacrificial altar. The other classmates were very happy. They wanted to use the method Yuyuto taught to quickly become strong like him and Rokuro. One girl seemed worried, wondering if it was unreasonable to gain power without doing anything. But things had already begun. Yuyuto quickly stood up and recited a series of incantations. At this time, Rokuro did not see anyone in the room and happily wanted to sneak out to the sundry store to buy some food. But at that moment, the door suddenly would not open. Then when he and his friend entered the room, they were horrified to see a corpse there. Then another friend appeared, painfully begging for Rokuro's help. She was in pain and could only tell Rokuro to quickly stop Yuyuto. Then before them, that girl transformed into a Kegare. Rokuro and another friend were terrified, not understanding why their friend had turned into a monster. In that room, Rokuro saw his friend Yuna had turned into a Kegare and was extremely dejected. He immediately tried a few more people. Thus, their friends had all turned into Kegare. Rokuro and his friend wanted to escape, but the door was locked tight. Rokuro could only watch as his friend was completely devoured by those monsters. In despair, Rokuro could only scream and cry. Back to reality, after hearing everything, Benio is horrified and wants to ask about everything in detail. She cannot believe her ears. Seijin beside her speaks plainly. This is the truth about the Hinatsuki tragedy, and everyone there had become fallen Kegare. To save those people, the only thing that could be done was to end their lives before they committed crimes. The technique of turning oneself into Kegare is the most evil sorcery, and very few people know about this dark art. One of them is Yuyuto. Benio is horrified, the one who tinkered with the darkest sorcery, using the dormitory students as experimental subjects for fallen Kegare. The one who destroyed everything of Rokuro is Yuyuto, her older brother. Benio cannot believe it. The kind and righteous brother she always admired is actually such a person. Yuyuto hearing this only feels disgusted. He tells her to shut that dog mouth of hers. Yuyuto says plainly that Benio does not understand anything about him. Seijin also reminds her to stay calm because this person has been deceiving everyone all along. Benio mentions their parents to try to reform her brother, but she only hears mocking words from him. Yuyuto says plainly that he has never considered Benio an exorcist, a foolish little sister spoiled by their parents. All along he was just playing the role of a good brother to deceive her. What a burden indeed. Benio completely breaks down and collapses. Yuyuto intends to finish them all here. Rokuro in his fury directly tears apart the cloth binding him. Rokuro charges forward, without using the black talisman but directly summoning his exorcism arm to attack Yuyudo. But Yuyudo easily escapes. Rokuro does not give up and continues charging forward. Yuyudo is not afraid. After all, Rokuro still has not mastered this power like him. It turns out he also has a similar arm, but of course is much more proficient at using it than Rokuro. The two continuously exchange blows, or rather Rokuro keeps charging forward while Yuyudo easily punches back and forth. The battle situation completely tilts toward Yuyudo. Benio witnesses the scene before her. She cannot stand it anymore and rushes forward to block Rokuro and stop him, also injuring herself in the process. Seeing her hurt, Rokuro finally calms down. Yuyudo slowly approaches. He went through all this trouble to come here today to invite Rokuro to join his team on the path ahead. Rokuro does not waste words. He would rather die than go with Yuyudo. Yuyudo then mentions Rokuro's kindness on that day when he did not kill him completely, saying Rokuro's sin is that he has no true awakening about wanting to become stronger. After cursing to his heart's content, this bastard also turns around and leaves. Finally, Seijin opens the Magano gate to bring them outside. He carries Mayura away, and before leaving also silently looks at the two of them. When only two people remain, Benio directly kneels down to apologize to Rokuro for her brother's sins. Rokuro is flustered and tells her to raise her head because this fault is not hers. Benio cannot bear it. What Rokuro went through is not just hatred and sorrow. It cannot be expressed in words, so all she can do is bow her head and apologize. Rokuro also says he is no different from Benio. He also lived with Yuyudo for so long yet still could not see his true nature. Moreover, if 2 years ago he had been heartless enough to defeat Yuyudo, things would not be like this now. Thanks to this incident, Rokuro also gradually awakens. He has been avoiding reality for too long. He wants to become stronger. Before Rokuro's determination, Benio also stands up. She also wants to become stronger. This time not because of her brother, but because she truly wants it herself. For the first time, both of them reach such high agreement. The next day at the villa, Rokuro washes his face while reminiscing about yesterday. At that time, he and Benio had bowed before Seijin wanting him to train them. Seijin reminded them that ambition alone cannot solve anything, but both of their awakenings were enough for him to accept. Before leaving, Seijin also returns the black talisman to Rokuro. Back to reality, Rokuro reminds himself to quickly become stronger. Rokuro has just finished washing his face and steps out of the bathroom when he is startled to see a beautiful woman sitting in the living room. This person is dressed in an extremely extravagant ancient style. According to Benio, this is Subaru, Benio's master. Beside her is also a masked woman. Subaru has trained Benio since she was 5 or 6 years old and is also one of the 12 guardians with the title Goddess Tenko. The person beside her is Totara, who only expresses emotions through the paper in front of her face. Subaru asks about the romantic situation of the young couple. Rokuro and Benio directly deny the title of Sausei couple. Rokuro does not quite trust the woman before him, but he suddenly realizes that if he could be trained by one of the 12 guardians, would he not quickly become stronger? Perhaps that is why Subaru came here. Rokuro immediately asks if Subaru can train both him and Benio. Benio remembers her brother Yuyudo and also immediately bows with him to ask her master. Subaru happily accepts. Totara gives them a piece of paper with a clear training schedule. Rokuro and Benio follow the instructions to a shopping center. Both go to a high-end clothing store. The staff seem to have been notified beforehand and come to tell them that everything requested has been prepared by their shop. Thus, Rokuro is equipped with an incredibly cool outfit. Beside him, Benio also wears the designated dress. Totara appears again like a deity presenting the next instruction paper. The paper requires Rokuro to express his feelings after looking at Benio. Though not quite understanding, Rokuro just blushes and does not dare say his true thoughts. At that moment, Subaru drives her vintage car over and demands Rokuro complete the mission. Rokuro's answer is extremely boring, but they can only quickly move on to the next mission. This time both go to a certain building with a new piece of paper requiring them to hold hands. Both Benio and Rokuro are embarrassed and tense about this mission. Rokuro angrily scolds Subaru for not knowing how to teach students. Benio immediately defends her master. She was taught all the basics of the exorcist world by her, a very intense cultivation science that is all related to random romantic matters. Subaru drives over again to urge them to quickly do the mission. Benio then protests that this training process has no meaning at all. Subaru immediately reminds her that always only wanting to train for combat without caring about anything else will not make her stronger. These words directly hit Benio's G-spot, and she immediately continues the mission. Where they cannot see, a Magano crack has appeared. Back at the commercial building, Benio and Rokuro sit watching those couples being affectionate and feel disgusted. The paper this time requires both of them to feed each other. From afar, Subaru sits in the car observing the situation. Kanako feels her master cannot do it. Looking at the cake plate before her, Benio is immediately filled with determination, picks up the fork and puts cake into Rokuro's mouth. Rokuro cannot stand it and immediately runs outside to complain to Subaru. She immediately has Tatara deliver a new mission. This time they must kiss each other. Rokuro is furious. To become stronger, one should train to fight, so why do such things? Benio then has a suspicion. Could it be that Chief Exorcist Arima asked her to do this? Subaru only says all their expenses are paid by Arima. Both then leave in frustration. At a pastry shop, seeing Benio wants to eat, Rokuro immediately goes in to buy her a bunch since Arima is paying anyway. Seeing Benio eat ohagi so happily makes Rokuro also smile. The two silently admire the city scenery before them. Benio sees Rokuro just sitting there and offers him an ohagi. Both continue eating without saying a word to each other. At that moment, Kanako runs over to them, reporting that Kegare have appeared near the lake. Benio immediately opens a gate to bring both of them into Megano. Subaru and Tatara just silently observe from outside. Entering inside, they see monsters frantically breaking the barrier to enter the real world. Rokuro immediately summons his exorcism arm. Benio also draws her weapon. Both immediately charge forward to deal with the monsters. At this time, from afar, Subaru and Tatara observe the situation. They pay special attention to Rokuro's arm. Sure enough, because of the previous incident, Rokuro's arm gradually loses control. It makes him want to destroy everything. With the last bit of reason remaining, Rokuro tells Benio to run quickly. Benio does not hesitate to run over and use an exorcism talisman to suppress the power and help Rokuro. But this also consumes her own strength. Both quickly stand up facing the encircled situation. Rokuro can still fight, but Benio can hardly fight these Kegare. In this critical situation, Rokuro runs over and holds Benio in his arms to protect her. At that moment, Subaru appears like a deity, using guns to shoot away all the monsters. She happily congratulates them for completing those missions. Subaru reminds them both that Sausei no Onmyauji is a title for a married couple, so they cannot be embarrassed forever. Seeing the monsters return, Subaru gently draws her exorcism weapon to fight. Benio and Rokuro witness the strength of the frivolous woman before them. Not only her, but Tatara beside her also has very high abilities, easily dealing with monsters using the tune on her body. This person is also one of the 12 guardians. After shooting monsters like shooting chickens for a while, Subaru uses her ultimate move to eliminate all of them at once. Not only eliminating Kegare, Subaru also uses her ability to close the crack. Benio and Rokuro witness everything with their mouths agape. On the way back, Rokuro becomes even more determined to become stronger. Benio at this moment does not pay attention to that. She only asks Rokuro if what they did today counts as a date. Rokuro is also not sure, so both just embarrassedly continue walking home. Upon entering, they are stunned by the extravagantly different scene of their villa. Subaru has modified it to suit the atmosphere of a married couple. She and Tatara will stay here to train them in this couple cultivation course. Only now do Rokuro and Benio understand why this morning's missions were so strange. The next morning, Rokuro has to participate in an embroidery training course with Benio. Such handicraft work leaves Rokuro with no patience at all and wanting to give up. Benio believes the missions given to them all have their reason. Back to that day, when the power of Rokuro's arm went out of control, it was because its power exceeded his capacity. Subaru assigned them embroidery work, perhaps wanting to train their ability to concentrate and stay calm. Rokuro peeks at Benio's work, and seeing she is doing just as poorly as him makes him quite happy. Benio even accidentally sews her skirt hem into the canvas, so when she lifts it up, everything that should be seen is seen. They make a ruckus in the dining room while Subaru and Tatara leisurely watch TV and read newspapers. After finishing the embroidery, Rokuro also has to make tea and serve it to Subaru with reluctant respect. Subaru then demands pastries to go with the tea. Benio immediately takes out ohagi for her, but she says she does not want sweets. Subaru then complains about her back being sore lately. Rokuro is about to attend to her, but is criticized this way and that. Rokuro angrily keeps asking Subaru to teach and train them seriously. What use is this serving business? Currently, he is in a hurry. His arm is out of control, and he cannot keep relying on Benio to help him. Subaru says plainly that no matter how much they practice right now, it will not be enough because they do not yet understand her purpose and actions at this moment. Benio then speaks up saying she shares the same thoughts as Rokuro. Hearing this, Subaru understands they have reached their first agreement, so she accepts teaching them a little. The first training lesson is hide and seek. Benio and Rokuro must find Subaru before dark. If successful, she will seriously train them with all her heart. Rokuro thinks that with Subaru's outfit, finding her will be easy. But as soon as the count reaches 3, Subaru has disappeared without a trace. Benio and Rokuro split up to search. They look everywhere but cannot find any trace of that Lolita woman. At that moment, while searching, Benio finds Rokuro's pornographic book, terrifying him. Benio and Kanako continuously interrogate Rokuro about this thing. He can only explain that he was forced to buy it to read. Just as she throws the book at Rokuro's face, a pink paper suddenly appears before them both, saying that between husband and wife there should be no secrets from each other. It also says she will go out for a bit, meaning Subaru is not only hiding inside the house, but also outside. How can they possibly find her then? Both run outside to search. While not knowing what to do, they hear two friends discussing a gorgeously dressed woman who also speaks with a Kyoto accent. Rokuro and Benio follow the trail to a tea shop. Though they miss her, they still ask the server about the next location. Both run to a clothing store and learn the beautiful woman has gone to an antique shop. At the antique shop, the owner says Subaru mentioned she was a bit hungry. They go together to a restaurant. This time the chef does not reveal her whereabouts, only telling them to pay for that person's meal. After emptying their wallets and leaving, Rokuro still does not understand where Subaru is. They have lost the trail. Benio thinks searching like this is not working. They need to think carefully about their master's thoughts and purpose. After a moment, Benio has a guess, thinking Subaru is on a diet, so perhaps she has gone to a gym to exercise. Rokuro then remembers when serving tea he saw Subaru reading a newspaper about a newly popular gym. Both immediately head to the gym to find her, and indeed meet a blonde woman who looks exactly like her. But upon approaching, it turns out to be Tatara in disguise. Tatara gives them Subaru's paper saying they answered incorrectly. Seeing Benio discouraged, Rokuro encourages her that at least Tatara being there proves they were not completely wrong. Both continue thinking about Subaru's actions this morning. While arguing, suddenly a Kegare crack appears. Kanako feels strange because she did not sense it at all, but time is limited, so Benio immediately brings both into Magano. Facing the octopus monster, both realize they must attack together at one point to have a chance of winning. But at that moment, the monster releases a black gas that separates them, leaving them to fight alone. The dark fog also obstructs their vision. Rokuro wants to use talismans to attack, but fears he might also hit Benio. This is when they need mental synchronization with each other. Both are having difficulty locating the monster's movements and keep getting knocked away. Benio feels the actions they need to predict are not of the Kegare, but of each other's thoughts. Thus, when the monster launches its tentacles, Benio dodges. She also predicts Rokuro will jump forward for a surprise attack. Indeed, Rokuro uses his arm to attack forward. Benio predicts correctly and quickly rushes to support him. Only now do both coordinate to attack one point together to eliminate the Kegare. But when destroyed, the monster dissipates into pieces. It turns out this is Subaru's trick. She claps congratulating them for passing the challenge. Rokuro calms down and realizes his arm is not losing control at all. Subaru meaningfully reminds them not to try to grasp what they cannot see. Whether it is the thoughts of people or Kegare, they just need to feel. Benio and Rokuro are very satisfied with today. Moreover, they are even happier because they have won the hide-and-seek game since it is not yet dark. Subaru is speechless and reminds them to be careful before immediately disappearing. In the end, they still lose the betting game, but Subaru is very satisfied with what she has witnessed these past days. The next day, both quickly see Subaru off. Rokuro watches the car leave and is speechless. In the end, they did not learn any attack techniques, but it feels like they have learned something very significant. At that moment, a pink paper from Subaru appears in Benio's hand. After reading it, Benio angrily runs into Rokuro's room to search and indeed finds another pornographic book. The pervert must die. Benio uses force to deal with this dark-minded guy. Elsewhere in the Magano world, a mysterious man walks through the dark fog. The mysterious purple-haired man stands before a Kegare. He asks the monster about the whereabouts of the Sausei no Onmyaji. Seeing it respond with a scream, he immediately smashes the Kegare with one blow, then calmly leaves. Perhaps he is going to find his next target. At this moment in the villa, a room with candles and many scarecrows appears. Rokuro wears exorcism equipment on his hand and madly charges forward to test with a punch. The first scarecrow quickly shatters. The punch's power is so strong it extinguishes the candle and shakes the walls. Rokuro observes that the strength of this right arm has increased significantly, but it is also much harder to control. He does not give up and continues dealing with the remaining scarecrows. After practicing for a while, Rokuro can now control the magic from his arm, making it just strong enough to smash scarecrows without extinguishing the candle. Even so, Rokuro also clearly understands that just controlling this magic power is not enough to defeat that crazy Yuyudo. Remembering that day being beaten black and blue by Yuyudo, Rokuro just sighs and leaves the basement, feeling he needs to try harder. Upon stepping upstairs, Rokuro is stunned by the scene of misty smoke like a celestial paradise before him. It turns out Benio is preparing dinner, a special soup consisting of vegetables, dried sardines, and some other herbs. Hearing this hodgepodge combination, Rokuro feels this is no different from the soup old lady Meng gives people to forget their past life memories. Rokuro asks what Benio's family usually ate when she was young. Benio replies ohagi and curry rice. Rokuro screams that no family has dinner with such things. Benio, hearing this, just stays silent, making Rokuro think he has upset her, though in fact she is just concentrating on cooking. Anyway, after a while Benio completes her special self-created formula soup. She gives Rokuro a cup to try. Though moved that Benio remembered him, seeing her drink the whole combination in one gulp shocks him. After encouraging himself to be strong for a while, Rokuro finally dares to swallow all that soup. After tasting Benio's special dish, Rokuro continuously screams from the rotten, bitter, and sweet tastes lingering in his throat. Benio thinks Rokuro is too young and cannot appreciate adult beverages. Unable to bear it anymore, Rokuro immediately takes on the task of cooking dinner tonight, just to prove he cooks much better than Benio, and also to protect his stomach from her terrifying secret formula. After eating, Benio goes out jogging to give Rokuro a chance to cook in the villa, and also to burn energy so dinner will be more delicious. At this moment, the scene shifts to the exorcist's meeting room. Seeing Aruma has arrived, Shimon reports about strange activities occurring in the third basement floor. Aruma thanks everyone for their efforts for world peace, then asks Subaru about the situation of that Sausei couple. Subaru laughs, saying the training has been assigned to Seijin. She is just assisting a little. Subaru adds that regarding the position of Sausei no Onmyaji, Benio and Rokuro are still not there yet, but if they practice more, interesting things will happen, especially that boy Rokuro. Her words make Shimon feel unhappy. He still does not acknowledge that insolent kid. Aruma quickly leaves the room after the meeting. His face no longer has the playful smile from before. At the villa, Rokuro cooks while wondering what Benio used to eat to survive. Because he was too lost in thought, his food has burned. Another chaotic scene occurs in the other room. Benio is still jogging outside. She recalls the past times. Her father really liked ohagi, while her mother liked curry. The two of them were once a perfectly coordinated combat couple. Young Benio, going with both of them, felt tremendous admiration for her parents, but that very day was also the day she lost her beloved parents. Then the scene of when that kegare appeared. Benio does not dare think about anymore. By evening, the meal specially prepared by Rokuro is finally complete. He just needs to wait for Benio to return to taste it. Seeing it is already 6:30 and Benio has not returned, Rokuro is a bit worried the food will get cold. Benio is still running on the road. She remembers the dinners alone in Kyoto. It seems like a very long time since she has eaten dinner with loved ones. Kanako is comforting her when it suddenly warns of kegare appearing. Both set aside their feelings and immediately prepare to fight. Rokuro brings the food to find her on the jogging path, not knowing Benio has already entered Megano to fight. Facing her is a very large, very strong, and extremely dangerous monster, making Kanako also afraid they alone cannot defeat it. Just as Benio prepares to charge forward and fight the monster, the mysterious man suddenly appears, knocks her away and deals with the monster in one blow. His name is Kamui. Seeing she is an exorcist, he wants to ask about the identity of the Sausei no Onmyaji and wants to kill her afterwards if she does not tell him. He coldly gives her 10 seconds to decide, kill or be spared. Hearing these words, Benio is horrified because years ago the kegare monster that killed her parents also said the same thing, making her choose between her father or mother within 10 seconds. Benio has finally found him. This person is the kegare from that year. She immediately picks up her sword wanting to kill him, madly screaming and cursing at Kamui. Kamui does not remember why this person knows him, but he can easily knock Benio away. He says he truly cannot remember how many ants he has killed anymore. Benio is beaten bloody. Kamui approaches again, giving her a choice. Either he will kill her the way he killed her parents, or die by losing her means of thinking, aka her head falling to the ground. Choose. Benio painfully wants to accept ending everything here and go to heaven to meet her parents. But just as the last second approaches, Rokuro arrives just in time to knock Kamui away. Rokuro explains he came to bring her dinner, so Benio should quickly heal her wounds and come back to eat. At this moment, though his neck was hit crooked, Kamui calmly approaches them. Rokuro is amazed at this talking kegare. Moreover, it seems very strong. Kamui appreciates Rokuro, the one who can injure him. Rokuro stands blocking Benio. Feeling the one before him is definitely not easy to deal with. At this moment on the airplane, Arima receives a call from Zenkichi. Arima knows exactly what he wants to call about. He says plainly that the very strong kegare in Narukami is a Basara. Inside the Megano gate, Rokuro and Kamui confront each other. Kamui asks who Rokuro is to dare interrupt his fun. Rokuro is furious hearing the one before him consider killing people as entertainment. But beside him, Benio struggles to get up. She reminds Rokuro to run away. They cannot defeat this kegare. It is a Basara. According to Arima, Basara look like humans, but are not human. Though they are kegare, they are stronger than all others, specializing in collecting power to evolve into an even more superior type of kegare. Currently, the Exorcist Association has confirmed the existence of several Basara, and one of them is in Narukami. This is a species that cannot be defeated without the strength of the 12 guardians. Before Zenkichi's worry, Arima only advises him that not engaging in battle is the wiser choice. Rokuro and Kanako worry about Benio and approach to check on her. Kamui at this moment notices Rokuro's right arm. He wants to test his strength. At that moment, the monster from before once again rises from the rubble. Just as Kamui turns around, Rokuro and Benio immediately seize this opportunity to leave the Magano gate. Once outside, Rokuro immediately takes out a talisman to heal Benio's wounds. As soon as Benio is healed, she wants to continue back into the Magano gate to eliminate Kamui, the one who killed her parents. 6 years ago, they died confronting that Basara, and she has also spent 6 years continuously searching for it. Benio wants to kill Kamui to avenge her parents. Even if she has to die, it would be worth it. Rokuro calms Benio down, reminding her that currently they cannot defeat that monster. They are both not at that level. Rokuro advises her to calmly reconsider everything. Benio falls silent. Since childhood, training for revenge has always been her ultimate goal. Remembering Kamui's insults, Benio desperately does not know what to do. She has been searching for the monster to avenge her parents, but Benio herself cannot even touch it. The fear of death fills her mind, but she also does not want to run away, otherwise she will have no value left to exist. Rokuro is stunned. He once again sees his own shadow in Benio. After thinking for a while, Rokuro gives the dinner he made to Benio, wanting her to eat it. Then both will enter Magano and purify that Basara monster together. They will do it together. Rokuro will also fight because he is also an exorcist, and moreover he wants Benio to continue living. After speaking, Rokuro immediately opens the Magano gate and enters. Benio opens the food box and only sees a chaotic mess mixed together inside. On his side, Rokuro quickly finds Kamui, wanting to be his opponent for a fight to the death. Before the annoyingly calm expression of this Kagero, Rokuro immediately charges forward. The two engage in a battle of one attacking and one defending. Outside, Benio eats while recalling her encounters and conversations with Rokuro. Kanako tastes the lunchbox and feels it is too terrible, but Benio still finishes it all. She feels strengthened by it. In Magano, Rokuro is frustrated because no matter how much he attacks, the monster is not affected at all. Kamui even praises Rokuro for having great potential. Killing him now would be a waste. He says he likes fighting strong exorcists and usually waits for them to grow powerful before killing them all at once, absorbing lots of energy that way. Kamui again gives Rokuro a choice. 1. He will spare him. 2. He will kill him. Still 10 seconds to think. Rokuro does not trust this guy. Kamui affirms he is a man of his word. After all, watching human reactions when cornered is very interesting. Some choose to attack, some cry and beg. Mentioning this, Kamui finally remembers Benio. Back then he gave Benio the choice of sparing her father or sparing her mother. But in the end, after 10 seconds, the little girl did not choose anyone. So Kamui asked her parents whether they wanted him to spare them or spare their daughter. And the result was this. Both wanted him to spare their child. That was a very rare case, but Kamui kept his word and killed her parents. Rokuro is furious. At that time Benio was only 8 years old. This bastard is more cruel than all Kagero combined. After speaking, Rokuro immediately charges forward to fight this Basara demon. Though wanting to break through, this demon is stubbornly alive and cannot be killed no matter what. Being hit back, Kamui feels extremely excited and immediately wants to use his weapon. Then before Rokuro, the monster takes out a cursed talisman and recites an incantation. Rokuro is horrified seeing the Kagero can use this equipment. The situation now changes. Rokuro is punched and sent flying far away. Kamui is about to use a finishing blow on Rokuro when Benio arrives just in time to block in front of him. Kamui does not want to fight Benio, but Benio now has more determination to charge into battle. She fights this Kagero more and more fiercely. Kamui just steps back. Even if she fights harder, she has no chance of defeating that evil monster. On the contrary, she is knocked away. Just as she is about to fall, Rokuro catches Benio. His arm catches her sword. The two immediately join forces, creating a completely new weapon. Kamui is somewhat amazed and realizes they are the Sausei no Onmyauji he has been looking for. Kamui excitedly charges down. Both Benio and Rokuro also charge forward. The two attacks collide, shaking heaven and earth. In the end, Kamui still does not die. Rokuro and Benio cannot believe it. Kamui calmly exposes both of their identities as Sausei no Onmyauji. Rokuro screams, asking what exactly the Kagero want. Kamui only says if exorcists want to eliminate Kagero, then they also have the same goal, eliminating humans. If the child they give birth to has the ability to eliminate Kagero, then the two cannot be allowed to live until then. Kamui then says he does not care which side wins or loses. He just wants fun. After speaking, he leaves. Before leaving, he promises to meet them again someday to continue fighting, or he will fight their child. Rokuro and Benio want to chase after him, but have no strength left. Both directly faint. From afar, Arima observes everything with only a satisfied smile. In her coma, Benio remembers her memories with her parents. They were exorcists fighting for a future without Kagero, so their child could live in peace. Before opening her eyes, Benio still remembers her feelings of admiration for her parents. When she regains consciousness, she is stunned to see her wounds have been carefully treated and she has been placed next to Rokuro. Both have been unconscious on that pearl lover's bed. Rokuro is still sleeping like the dead. Benio silently thanks him for helping her when they fought the Basara. At the same time, in her heart, she keeps recalling the prophecy of the child of the gods, making Benio blush with embarrassment. At that moment, Rokuro talks in his sleep, making Benio extremely angry. She immediately grabs a pillow to beat him. The villa passes through another moment of inescapable chaos.